Welcome back. This is Bill Miranda. I'm here with my co-host, Patsy Ayala. The show is Querer es Poder. Where there's a will, there's a way. We're here with our next guest, Mason Rastian, who's an attorney at law.
Good morning, Patsy. Good morning, Bill. How are you today?
Good morning, Mason.
Fine,
We're
thank
good.
you.
We're good.
We are glad we have you here because definitely in your area of expertise, there are always many questions. But first, I would like to ask you to tell us about your expertise and background.
Sure. I graduated at California Bar in 1997, and initially I started working as an insurance defense attorney, so I would get hired by the insurance company to defend lawsuits. And I did that until 2006. 2006, I opened my own office out here in Santa Clarita, where I live, and I moved to the other side. So now I
The other
help,
side.
The good side. I help the injured people. So instead of working for the insurance companies, I work against them. I help people get reimbursed for their medical bills, their pain and suffering, their lost wages. I help the people who are actually injured.
That's a strength because you have been on the other side.
Yes.
So now being on this side, as you said, the good side.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be there if I need a lawyer.
That what makes me a little bit different than some of the other attorneys you may meet out there. I am cut from a different cloth, so I know exactly where the other side is going to go. A lot of times, because I did the insurance defense work, I can get their arguments before they even know they're going to make it. So it gives me a different perspective on how to look at litigation, how to look at lawsuits. And I'm a lot more familiar with a whole different range of lawsuits, not just car accidents.
Mm-hmm. And what makes you different from other attorneys?
Well, aside from the fact that, you know, my background is insurance defense and I've done both sides of litigation and plaintiffs for the past 6 years, I've worked in so many different segments of litigation. I've done car accidents, truck accidents, bus accidents, construction site accidents, dog bite cases, slip and falls. I've handled cases as north as Sacramento, as south as El Centro. I've worked in 43 different courthouses in every single county in California.
Every single county.
Pretty much in every
There are
single county. In
I forget how many
Southern
counties, but
California.
I've been in like 50 counties in California.
Well, in Southern California, I should say.
Oh, in
so
Southern
I've been in,
California. Okay.
I've practiced in LA County, Orange County, Ventura County, San Gabriel County, San Bernardino County, Santa Barbara,
all over.
Riverside, right.
So it sounds we have a. You're pretty familiar with.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Reseda High School.
Reseda. All right.
Reseda, I went to CSUN, pretty much stayed in the valley the whole time. Until
How you ended in Santa Clarita?
Well, you know, I have family out here.
Okay.
So when I first passed the bar, I ended up moving to Orange County for about 3.5 years. That's where I got trained by an aviated attorney, who was a very good attorney. He was on top of his game. An aviated means you have the highest rated attorney in your profession as far as ethical and legal standard. So when my daughter was born, all my family was out here. So we were commuting back and forth. So you know, I said, all right, I'm moving back to where I belong, which is LA. So that's where we moved back out here. And it's been Santa Clarita because I have family out here. So I've been out here for about almost 9 years.
Good, good. Welcome. This is a great place to raise a family.
I know. So when my second child was born, my son, I was working in LA for a firm. So I was commuting back and forth between here and there. So I said, all right, now I have 2 kids, enough of commuting back and forth. I want to open my own office, and that's what I did 6 years ago. So now I get to spend more time with my family. Ironically, I still get home the same as I did before, but it's my own office.
One of the issues that comes to mind for me is that many times people get injured in car accidents where the injury is not readily known at the time. You know, a lot of sometimes head injuries that occur that you don't really, or back injuries that you don't really feel until a few days later.
Right.
Do those people have a right to come back and say, hey, you know what, I'm injured?
You do. If it's an injury where, for example, you break a bone, you're going to know right away. Okay, but if it's a soft tissue injury, which is strains and sprains, which is basically tearing ligaments apart, you may not feel it right away. Usually you don't.
Right.
Because you have the adrenaline flowing in your body, and you don't really feel it until the next day when your body slows down and you start relaxing. That's when you feel the whiplash in your neck or the back pain. So yes, you do. That's why I always tell people, you know, if you don't feel pain right away, it's okay. It's natural. If you have the soft tissue, you're going to feel it the next few days. Now, if you get a meniscus tear, for example, or you tear a muscle, a lot of times you don't feel that right away either because it's not a broken bone. So sometimes it's going to linger on, and eventually, if your knee's giving out, you're going to have an MRI done, and you find out, wait a minute, there's a tear in my knee, like a
Yeah.
meniscus.
Mason, I'm referring to sometimes you have a what they call a fender bender.
Okay.
Right? You have a fender bender, and you get out of the car, your car's not really damaged, and yeah, you got a little jolt, and so you walk away. And so 3 days later, you have this neck pain,
Right.
and you wonder, well, who was the driver who banged me? So I guess the point I'm making is, even when you're not hurt, you should still exchange information.
Yes, one thing you should always do is exchange information. Even if the other side says, well, you seem to be fine, or you feel fine yourself at the time, you never know what's going to happen the next day when you wake up.
And in the case you have an accident
Mm-hmm.
and you have the information, how much time do you have to make a complaint or something? Is there a legal time? for
Well,
that?
legally, the statute starts running the day you get injured. So in general, in a personal injury case, you have 2 years from the date to file a lawsuit. Now, if you're going against a government entity or a public entity, there are certain other issues you have to do, which is you have to file a claim within 6 months. But your claim basically starts from that day. Now, that being said, what you want to do is seek treatment, or at least be seen by somebody as soon as possible. Because the later you delay that, the worse it is for you, because you're in pain, and it's going to hurt your case. Because they're going to argue against that.
Mason, how do we reach you?
You can always reach me by my phone, which is 661
661
362
362
0805,
0805.
or my website, which is mrscvlaw.com.
MrSCVlaw.com. I love it.
Right. Or scvinjuryattorney.com.
Can you
Excellent.
tell us just a little recommendation for a best way to protect yourself after an injury, problem, event?
That's one of the other things that I was just talking to Bill about. You always want to make sure you get the other person's information. You always want to be checked out by a healthcare provider, whether it's your own personal doctor, urgent care, emergency room. You don't have to have those necessarily, but you do want to be seen by somebody to make sure you're okay. Those are things you need to do. Now, if it's another kind of injury, for example, in a slip and fall, what you may want to make sure is you at least report it to somebody, because you need to put that on the record so they know. So you never want to make a claim later on where a supermarket says, well, you never told us you were injured. Because they're documented right there, and they can take pictures of the substance that, for example, you slipped on. So it depends on the type of case.
Mason, thank you very much for being on our show. I know it's a very interesting subject, and we could go on in a number of segments, but life is short on the radio.
Thank you again.
Thank you for sharing that information with us. And we are at Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS.